Committee, the rule is before the committee. Representative Wood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I move to the committee approve docket number 20-0702-1401, and may I speak to my motion?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee members, obviously Idaho is new to the oil and gas industry, and it seems to me, in sitting and listening to the testimony, that the state has done a pretty good job, the Department of Lands has done a pretty good job of trying to go around to other states and trying to figure out what may well work and what may well not work.
EnviroNews USA.
Well, no pun intended. With respect to the fit of these various options that we have with respect to what might work in Idaho. We've also heard about the protecting the minority interest against the tyranny of the majority. Well, I hate to tell you this, but you have to protect the majority against the tyranny of the minority too. That concept is well placed in America and plays itself out every day in all kinds of applications to human nature and our human endeavors around the United States. All you have to do is turn on television to see that. Rules of, we put a lot of things in rules specifically so that they can be changed on an annual basis. Is this rule going to satisfy everybody? No. Will they bring forth changes to this rule? Probably every year for the next 10 years. My understanding is and we approved 5 RSs as changes to statutory language as we try and get the development of oil and gas. Hopefully we've got abundant reserves of that somewhere in Idaho. Maybe we don't, but if we do, we certainly need to make use and get the benefit of the natural resources that we do have. So I understand that this rule, like every rule, particularly in negotiated rulemaking, is not going to please everybody. And probably if nobody gets their full wish, then we've probably got the rule fairly right. So I don't see the fact that we should not accept or not approve this rule. I don't think we should reject any portion of this rule. And I certainly think that the industry is young enough here that the state and the industry should be allowed the leeway to promulgate more rules in the future, and at least this is a good starting point. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Representative Erpelding.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to, for the most part, agree with Representative Wood and the work that the Department of Lands has done with docket number 20-072-1401. And I recognize that the role of government is to protect both the minority and the majority. I am a little bit stuck on the 55%. I'm stuck on the 55% because when I look at other Western states, particularly Western states with natural gas resources, they tend to have 75%, including Wyoming and New Mexico. And I'm not advocating for 75%, but I do fear that 55% might be too low and may not protect the property rights of the minority in a way that would be effective for the future. So with that, I would offer a substitute motion. That substitute motion would be that we accept docket number 20-0702-1401 with the exception of Rule 130.
Representative Erpelding, are you talking about the whole Rule 130, the whole Section 130?
Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I would like to reject as little of that rule as possible in order to retain some of the really good stuff that the Department of Lands and the negotiated rulemaking process has taken. So if I have to be specific, I would be very specific to the Rule 130.01H. I believe it's H, yeah.
Okay, and taking a look at that rule and H, I'm not sure that the rest of the rule would be complete if there wasn't some a percentage in there that had to be a part of it in order to inflict the rest of the rule. But if that's your motion, we can take a look at that motion that we accept the rule except 130H.
My assessment as well is that this is kind of an all or nothing on this particular rule, so if there is no agreement that you can't exempt that section and still have a whole rule, then I would say that my substitute motion is to accept the docket with the exception of 130.
Okay, we can take out that subsection H. We can keep that rule except that subsection H. Okay, committee, is there discussion on the substitute motion? Representative Vanderweiler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just, to clarify, I think if we take out the 55%, then there is no percentage that is involved in there, and that kind of opens everything wide open, and it makes it even worse than the 55. It could be 10%.
Mr. Chairman.
Representative Erpelding.
Thank you, Representative Vanderwoody. That was really my assessment as well, and the original motion is to reject the whole rule, or the whole section, 130.
130. Okay, the substitute motion then has been modified to accept the docket except the 130 on integration. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, committee, we will vote on the substitute motion first. All those in favor of accepting docket 20-1702-1401 with the exception of Rule 130 on integration, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? No. Nay. The nays have it. The substitute motion has failed. We now have the original motion. Is there any discussion on the original motion? Seeing none, all in favor of the original motion to accept docket 20-0702-1401, say aye. 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 Those opposed? No. Would you like to be recorded? He'd like to be recorded. Okay, the motion is accepted, and we have accepted docket 20-0702-1401. Okay, committee, that finishes our agenda for today. Thank you, committee. It's been a good one. We've had some good testimony. We've had some good questions. And I'm sure that the director and those from the department that are here have taken into consideration a lot of things that have been said today. And Director Schultz, I guess you'll have a little more rulemaking to go through this summer, a little more discussion.